How's it going, guys? Andrew here with Justified EDC, and welcome to the second annual holiday gift guide. This is going to be for all you people that are doing last-minute Christmas shopping, for the people in your life that are into EDC and knives and gear and all that good stuff. I'm going to try to gear all of this stuff towards people that, obviously if you're into EDC and knives and all that kind of stuff and you know all the ins and out of everything, there's still going to be some cool stuff for you to check out. But I really wanted to gear this towards people that are looking to buy for those sorts of people, but don't want to get into the nitty gritty of trying to figure out, what specific things you need. So all of this should be pretty general. That should work for everyone. It's not going to be like, this specific product is only going to work with this type of knife or with this type of tool. It should be pretty, general kind of stuff that everyone would enjoy. And we're going to keep everything under the $100 mark. A lot of this stuff is going to be down on the lower end of the price range. We have stuff as low as like $10, ranging all the way up to $100. Most of the stuff is probably going to be in like the $30 to $50 range, but it should give you a lot of options for, either just a little bit of, standard gifts, up towards the $100, or little things down into the stocking stuffer range. So these are going to be in no particular order. They're not going to be in, price order or anything like that, but I will have all of these things linked down in the description that you can go and purchase. So if you want to know prices and you want to know where to buy all these things, go check the description. Everything should be linked down there. Also, I'm going to timestamp this video. So if you're not interested in some of the things that I'm talking about, feel free to skip ahead to the things that you are. With that out of the way, the last thing we got to do before we jump into this is thank the sponsor of the channel, Auxiliary Manufacturing. Mike over at Auxiliary Manufacturing makes awesome custom USA-made fixed blades. Recently, he just did a drop of his coffin handle series and his pocket bowies. So here is your standard pocket bowie, the smaller one, and then here is the pocket bowie XL. He just dropped these a couple days ago. I think there's some left on his site right now, but he does periodic drops, and if you're not interested in these, he has a ton of other ones, these in different blade shapes and with handle wraps versus scales and a bunch of other models. So he is a huge supporter of the channel, so I'd really appreciate if you guys would go check him out. I do have a discount code with him, code Justified10 will get you 10% off your order on his website, so links will be down in the description to that stuff. It's not going to be budget friendly. Again, these are custom USA made knives, so they are going to be a little bit pricier, but if you want to save 10%, you can use my code, pick up something for yourself this holiday season. And thank you as always to Mike for sponsoring the channel. So let's get right into this. Let's do here's just some interesting little like keychain kind of items. Both of these actually are going to be coming from the same company, Infusion. I just did an unboxing of some of their stuff. If you're interested in learning more about that, and I will actually have one other product from Infusion a little bit later in the video. But two things right here. You can actually get these two together on Amazon, or you can buy them separately. So first of all, you have the Brew Solider, which is just a very tiny, thin, short, lightweight keychain bottle opener. A lot of keychain bottle openers that you find out there, gift shops and stuff like that, they tend to be big and bulky, and they end up taking a lot of room up on your keys. But I like having a bottle opener around. So this is a really nice solution. It's barely any bigger than a key. You're looking at just over 2 inches long. It's super thin. It weighs like 0.1 ounces, so it's not heavy. You won't get sick of it on your keys, but it does work very, very well. It's made of full titanium, and you can get these for anywhere from like $10 to $12 on Amazon. They kind of fluctuate a little bit. And then this is the EverRatchet, another titanium tool, a little bit more complex, a little bit more going on than the Brew Solider. It does have a bottle opener, but it also has a lot more. You have a prying surface over here. You have several different degrees down here of measurement. You have a couple different hex sizes. Obviously there you can hook that onto your keys. You can throw a lanyard on there. But really the highlight of this is this ratcheting mechanism that is milled actually into the titanium itself. You have a standard 1/4 inch bit stored in the handle. And what you can do is you can put that bit in here, and then like a lot of bit drivers, like here is just a standard 1/4 inch bit. So if you wanted to turn them, normally you put them in there and then you have to turn it like that to drive any kind of screws. But with this, you put it in here and watch that little arm here. So if I wanted to loosen something up, you turn, you're loosening, but then if you want to go back, it ratchets. So you could actually loosen something by doing that, and if you wanted to tighten it, just flip it over to the other side. Now you can tighten, and it ratchets, which is really, really, really neat. There's no kind of locking collar or anything. There's no moving parts down in there. It is all this milled arm right there. You can see that this angle right here, when you're turning it in the ratcheting direction, allows the bit to slip by, but then when you're turning it in the direction that you're trying to drive, this angle here catches the bit and turns it. So that is really, really neat. And you can, it takes any standard 1/4-inch bits, so you can throw whatever bit you want in there. Comes with some replacement O-rings in case they wear out. But this is really, really neat, and this is going for about $35. You can get both of these together on Amazon, I think for I think I saw them at like $38, so that's a really, really cool deal if you wanted to get those both together. This one is made in the U.S. I'm not exactly sure if this one is or not. Some of their stuff is imported. I know they try to locally source a lot of their stuff, but really, really cool stuff. They're actually a business that's local to me. I've talked to the owner. He's a nice guy, so definitely support them. Check these out. These are really cool if you're just looking for some little keychain multi-tool kind of tools. Jumping into the next category, which is lights, we're going to stay on the keychain theme. This right here is the Rovyvon Angel Eyes E1. This is a really interesting, cool little flashlight. This was actually sent to me by Rovyvon. I carried, tested it. I do have a review out on this if you're interested in hearing more about it. But it's a nice, lightweight polymer keychain light. You have several different modes that you can go to. It has quite a lot of output. I think the main standout feature for me is just the weight, but also the fact that it is dual fuel, which that means it has an internal battery that you can see right here. You can recharge with USB-C, but it also has a backup battery. If you flip that latch up, turn it over, you can throw a AAA in there, and then you have a backup fuel source. So say you're using the battery source, the internal battery source, and that runs out, you can switch it over to then using up your AAA, or vice versa. You can use whichever one in any order. The outputs are a little bit different depending on what battery you're using, but this gives you an option for something that's very small. You're looking at like 2.5 inches long, about 1 inch wide, and very, very lightweight. Something you can throw in your keys that will have a very nice long battery life as like a backup light, or this does actually come with a pocket clip that you can throw in here if you wanted to carry this in your pocket. Just a really, really cool little light. I've been enjoying carrying it. This is normally on my keys along with the Brew Solider here, so highly recommend these. If you're looking for a little pocket light or keychain light, you can't go wrong. And I think these go for around $30 also on Amazon. The next light, then, the other light that I have here. One thing that I should mention before we get too far into this, my holiday gift guide from last year is all completely different stuff. I tried not to repeat anything this year, so that you can still, if you didn't watch that video last year, you can go back there and now you have double the options. So I'll also link my video from last year if you'd like to go ahead and watch that. It's a lot of very similar stuff, but it's all completely different items. So you're not going to get any repeats, so you actually have double the options. So if you're interested in that, definitely go ahead and check that out. The other thing is, this is all gear that I've actually used and tested. A lot of these gift guide videos, there are some good ones out there that it's all gear that's been, tested and reviewed, but a lot of them, it's just, people buying stuff that they found on Amazon or whatever and then putting it out there. This is all stuff that I have carried and used and tested, and I can tell you that it's quality. So everything you see on here is something that I have actually used. Most if not all of this is stuff that I've purchased myself, other than a couple little things like this Rovyvon that were sent to me for review. So just a disclaimer there. So getting into this is a headlamp. This is from Princeton Tec. I don't remember the exact model number, but again, I'll link to these. You can get them in a couple different colors. This one happens to be the multicam band. These came very highly recommended to me from some people that are much more professional outdoorsmen than I am, and they really highly recommend these as being durable and well worth the money. So I think these go from anywhere between like $30 and $40 depending on which color and stuff you get. But it's a really nice headband. The band is comfortable to wear, nice elastic. I have not had it fray or break on me at all. It's actually name brand multicam, which is cool. And then the light also pivots. So depending on, you know, if you're looking out ahead of you, or if you're trying to walk with the light down at your feet to see what's in front of you, or if you're working on something and you want it pointed down, like you're working on your car at night or something like that, you can adjust the cant of this light. The other nice thing is you have a nice big activation switch up here. You can do red light or white light. So you have two different brightnesses on the red light. You have two different brightnesses on the red light, and then if you press and hold, it switches to white light, and you have three different brightnesses on the white light. So it's very, very bright. And I very much appreciate having the red light for outside at night when if you're camping or hunting, or just even, you know, you broke down on the side of the road and need to do some repairs on your car. The red light is nice to have because it doesn't take away as much of your night vision. You know, once your eyes have kind of adjusted to the dark, you shine a bright white light, and then when you shut that off, your eyes have to readjust. It doesn't do that as drastically with the red light. So I appreciate that, especially that higher red light output. At night, it's actually fairly bright, but it doesn't take away any of that night vision. So I've used this camping a couple times. I usually keep this in my vehicle as just a backup. It's a really, really nice headlamp, and if you're looking for, if someone that you know hunts or is just into preparedness or anything like that, or camping, this would be a great option. And again, around 30-40 bucks, also on Amazon. All right, that is the flashlights. Here's some just kind of, This is going to be more specific to a certain kind of person, but I know right now, like the dip pouches like Zyn and stuff are very, very popular. These happen to be caffeine pouches because I have thankfully quit nicotine at this point. But for anyone out there that uses Zyn or any of these alternative caffeine or nootropic pouches, this is called a ZCaddy, and all it does is just replace, you know, the basic like plastic tins that a lot of these pouches come in, where you kind of have to line up, you know, the lines in the right spot and then kind of pry it open with your fingernails. And it kind of hurts every time you do it. These little pouches that they come in kind of suck. So this has a rubber gasket on the inside, so it seals closed. It's not going to come open on its own, but you don't have to line anything up. You can just pop it open. It's much quieter. You can store about the exact same. This is a full container in here. There's 20 of them in here. You can probably fit a little bit more. And also on the top here, you can open this up. This also seals with a rubber gasket for your used one. So if you're not by a trash can or somewhere where you can throw out a used pouch, instead of spitting it on the ground or being gross or anything like that, you can just put them in here and then seal that back up and then toss them later when you get to a trash can. So these are made by ZCaddy. I think they're about, I want to say 25, 30 bucks. I think they're 25 bucks. You can get them in a bunch of different colors. I think they have custom engraving options now as well if you wanted to get their initials or something engraved on it. But if someone, you know, uses these kind of things, or even if they use, you know, traditional, chewing tobacco or anything like that, you could put those in there as well. Just put some loose chewing tobacco or whatever in there. These are really nice. They're much more durable than the plastic ones as well. So ZCaddy, this is a nice thing. If you're looking for something a little bit more slim, I don't like carrying this around in my pocket. I usually just keep this in my bag with a bunch of extras. This is by a company called LavishcoPrints. Now, I just have some stickers on here that I threw on. But this is from a company called LavishcoPrints over on Etsy. And it is just a 3D printed, very slim little case that holds 5 pouches. So if you don't want to carry around a whole can or a ZCaddy or anything like that, this is very, very slim and lightweight. It has just a couple, it just has enough to, you know, get you through, you know, an outing or out throughout your day, depending on how many of these you use a day. These is also slim enough. I don't put this in my wallet, but I've seen a lot of people actually tuck these in your wallet. You know, if you have one of those big dad wallets and you don't mind bulking it up, this is pretty slim. You actually can tuck this into a wallet, and then you're not carrying an extra container or anything like that. I often just tuck it in a pocket somewhere. This fits in like your coin pocket of your jeans. And it's a nice way to just have a couple of these pouches in a very slim, light package without taking a whole like hockey puck with you. So LavishcoPrints, I believe these go for about $8 to $10 a piece, and you can get them in 2-packs as well. So I'm gonna set those aside. Next thing, let's see, what should we do next? Let's talk let's do a little bit of shameless self-promotion here. I'm going to talk about lighters. I'm a big fan of lighters. I love, I love Bic lighters, I love clippers, I love Zippos. But these are products actually made by my company. I have a 3D printing company called G3D Printables. These are two of probably our most popular products right now. This is the BicBank and the BicBank Mini. And what these are just a case for either a full size or a mini Bic lighter. The full size, you get some added capabilities. It fits, obviously, your full-size Bic lighter. I don't have one right now, but I can show you on the Mini. We have these little clips that sit right behind the fuel. And what that does is it keeps the fuel from being able to be depressed. So you can flick it like that, but it's actually not going to light. It's going to keep that fuel button from being depressed, just so you know if you have it in a bag or something, your fuel's not leaking. And when you're using it, you can actually flip it around and clip it on the other side, just like that. And when you're done, clip it back underneath. So the full size comes with one of these as well. I'm missing it right now. And then also you have a compartment down in here. I happen to use it for some medication. I have some ibuprofen down there, but you could pack that full of tinder or anything like that if you wanted to use this like a fire starting kit. You can be pretty creative with that little pouch down there. And then you have these two tube storage places, which we have a full full kit you can buy with these that will come with like a chem light, some wax jute, a tube that you can fit all different kinds of stuff in, a spool of Kevlar cord, and some other stuff like that. Oh, and a ferro rod that will also fit down in there. So it's just these little plugs that will keep those all sealed off. The other thing that will fit down in here, if I grab this real quick, is if you use any kind of tool that takes 1/4-inch bits, you can fit several 1/4-inch bits down in there. So like if you carry a Milwaukee Fastback with the driver and you want to store some extra bits, you can fit like 3 or 4 extra 1/4-inch bits down in there. So you have 2 of those storage tubes. And the last feature is, actually I don't have enough of these tools handy to show them on both, but I'll just take them out of the Mini real quick. We have slots for the 3 Victorinox scale tools. So if you're familiar with Swiss Army knives, where they have the tweezers, the toothpick, and the ballpoint pen, you can fit all of these in the BicBank. So tweezers, toothpick, ballpoint pen, all fit down in there. So you have a lot of added capability. The other thing that you can do with this is it works like a loaded fist. You could wrap this with tape. A lot of people, that make like Bic lighter kits, they end up wrapping these in jute or tape or anything like that. You can do that with this, and you don't have to make it quite as thick because you have a lot more surface area. So this is a lot more geared towards outdoors use. And then we have the Mini, which I'd say is a little bit more geared towards EDC. So it's a little bit smaller. The only function that we took away with the Mini is, let me get these back in the right slots. Only function that we took away with the Mini is we got rid of these 2 tube slots. So it makes it a lot smaller. It now takes a mini Bic. And the BicBank Mini is pretty much the same size as a regular size Bic lighter. So for the size of a Bic lighter, you get the added capability of, you have the fuel clip as well, you have storage for the 3 Victorinox tools, and you have the storage compartment down here just like the full size. This is a lot more EDC friendly. And again, when you're done with the lighters, you just put a new one in there. They're all friction fit. As you can see down there, we have some cool printing going on down there that keep tension on the lighters, so they're not going to fall out or anything. None of the tools are going to shake out. We have both of these in a bunch of different colors, especially the Minis. Pretty much any color you can think of, we have them right now. This one happens to be glow in the dark. It's kind of hard to show off on camera because with the bright light of the camera, but this does glow in the dark. They all come with these matching paracord lanyards with a matching G3D bead. Depending on what color you get, your bead will match. So those are from my company, G3D Printables. They're great stocking stuffers for your EDC guys or your outdoors guys. Definitely go check these out. We have a bunch of other stuff, and because it's all 3D printed, and made by us. We try to keep the cost down. I don't think we have really anything over like the $50 mark on our stores. Most of our stuff is like somewhere between $15 and $25. So the BicBank Mini goes for $25, all the different colors, they're each $25. The full-size BicBanks range from $25 to $35, depending on if you get them with the tools and with the refill kit that we sell. But these are both available on our website right now with a bunch of other stuff as well. So yeah, those are from G3D Printables. I will move that out of here. Transitioning into kind of our next category, but with another 3D printed product, let's talk about utility knives. We're going to talk about some actual knives here coming up, but I love utility knives. They make great stocking stuffers because they're usually generally pretty cheap. And for EDC, you know, if someone you know carries a knife every day, these are a great option for them to also carry. And you know, it's not going to really be, it's really preference. But what utility knives are great for is, you know, cutting on surfaces that you wouldn't normally with your normal blades. Because they're disposable, you can just, if you mar one of these blades up or dull it out really quickly, you can just put a new blade in. You're not worried about it. Versus, you know, if you take your nice pocket knife and cut on concrete or on, you know, a piece of metal or something like that, then you have to go and sharpen your knife, and it's kind of a pain. So that's what these are good for. These are also great to loan out to non-knife people when, you know, a non-knife person says, you know, can I borrow your knife? And you're like, what are you going to do with that? You're not sure if they're going to go try to pry something open or cut on a piece of ceramic or something. Hand them a utility knife. If they mess the blade up, it's okay. It's disposable. So I have a couple different options here for you, starting out with, again, one from my company, G3D Printables. This is the Occam's razor. And what this is here is just two 3D printed halves, one that holds a standard razor blade, and one is the case. They both have magnets embedded in them that are epoxied in, and that's what holds the two halves together. The magnets are relatively strong. It's not going to shake out or anything like that. It comes with a ball chain. You can neck carry it around your neck. I've seen some people make little kits with these where they put a Ranger band on it and they strap some other gear to it. You could also take this off, put a lanyard on it, and just drop it down in your fifth pocket like a lot of these other ones. But it's just kind of our take on a way to have a little utility blade around. Unlike a lot of other ones where you're only getting a little bit of that cutting surface, this lets you have the full cutting surface and also is better for scraping. Some of the plastic ones of these also fit in here. So if you're looking for that, that'll work as well. But these are really great for scraping and giving you a lot more cutting edge. They just slide in this direction, so you can see like that. When you want to take it out, you can just slide it out the side and replace it with a new one. But then it is magnetically held closed. We have these in a couple different colors. I think there's a couple purple left on the website, but then we also have like black, red, OD green, coyote, that kind of stuff. So these are really cool. I believe, man, I'm forgetting the price of my own products. These are either 20 or 25. I think these are 20 right now on the website. So really cool little option. I think it's pretty unique from a lot of the stuff that's out there right now. So that is the Occam's razor from G3D Printables. A super budget option, if you're looking for a budget option. Last year in my gift guide, I talked about Giltek, the Giltek RUK-Ps. And they have, you know, aluminum, titanium, brass, copper, all the fancy ones. But this is the RUK-P, what is it, P, for polymer. These are injection molded. They're still made in the US, which is really, really cool. But they're injection molded, and they're only $10. So for $10, you get a replaceable blade utility knife, just like the other Gilteks, but it is just injection molded. And I actually really like carrying these because they're super lightweight and they're also really, really cheap. So if you happen to lose one or something like that, you're only out $10 versus, you know, some of the other things we're going to talk about here, which are a little bit more pricey. These also come in a bunch of different colors. Again, $10 a piece. These would make great stocking stuffers. I think any EDC guy would be really happy to get one of these. I carry one of these quite a bit. I really like Giltek's products. If you're looking for something a little bit more fancy, like a little bit, like a step up in terms of, materials and stuff from the Giltek P1, there are other Gilteks that you can check out, but this is also from Gear Infusion. We talked about with the EverRatchet and the Brew Solider. This is a titanium one. And the mechanism is really interesting on this one. Instead of a lot of these utility knives you see have an arm on the back that put pressure on the utility knife, and they kind of push it up into this channel so it can't slide forward because of those nubs. So you depress that, and then you can slide it past those nubs, and then they kind of lock into place like that. And then the same thing, you depress it and slide it back to retract it. This one actually has the arm milled on the other side. So what you're actually doing when you grip it is this part of your finger moves that arm out of the way like that, and then you can slide it open. It can lock in two different positions, like that or like that. But the cool part is, because it's running on these blade rails and there's no resistance like this, it's locked, but when you put pressure on it here, it drops back down in. So it's a little bit more, fidgety, but also it's just a little bit easier to put away. Instead of having to pull it back in, you just depress that again and it drops back into place. So these are really cool. These are around the $50 mark. You can't get these on Amazon yet, but you can get them on their website. They're about $50. Mine happens to have one of their titanium beads on it. It doesn't come with that, but you can get that as well. But this is a really, really innovative kind of product. And I've been enjoying it so far. I do have an unboxing video on all these. I haven't reviewed this yet, but I've been carrying it quite a bit, and I really, really do like it. So this is the GhostTi from Gear Infusion. So if you're looking for something a little bit step up from something like this, something a little bit nicer, and you have a little bit more money to spend, these are about $50, full titanium, really, really nice. The last one here is just fun. I actually just found this browsing Amazon the other day. This is an OTF utility knife. So you press this lever up here on the top and it shoots out. Same thing, you pull it back, it shoots back in. Isn't that awesome? It's just fun. It actually came with a bunch of these spare utility knives. And this is actually, the coolest part about this is it's $25. If you're familiar with OTFs, even like the budget OTFs, you don't usually really see for less than $50. And then like the nice ones are at least $100, and they go all the way up to $200, $300, $400, $500, that kind of thing. This is $25 on Amazon right now. And again, it does misfire every once in a while, but it hasn't broken or anything. Like the spring doesn't break, just every once in a while it misfires, and all you have to do is pull it back on the track. But this is just really, really fun. It's an aluminum body, has a pocket clip on this side. It's non-reversible, so only right-handed. Lanyard hole, some actual decent milling on here. The switch is actually relatively nice. It's not as smooth as something like, a Guardian Tactical OTF or anything like that. But actually then the mechanism to change the blade out is actually pretty well thought out. All you do is push that lever up, and you can slide the blade out to retract it. And then to do that, all you do is move that lever out of the way and put this back in. Kind of hard to do under the camera, but that just slides back in there like that, and now you're back to business. So if you're just looking for something fun, you can get you can get them in a couple different colors. You can get them in this either like faux leather inlay, or you can get them in an inlay that is very similar to like your Kershaw Blur with this kind of inlay. But again, $25 on Amazon, a super fun stocking stuffer. I don't know how long these are really going to hold up. I've only had this for a couple weeks, but again, this is more just a fun product. But you could also get some utility out of it. It's still gonna do the job for what it is. But these are really, really fun. They're made by CaressoLove is the company. But again, I'll put an Amazon link to this. You can go check them out. Really, really neat. Again, $25, can't go wrong. And then the last thing in terms of the razor knives is this is actually a way to carry some extra utility blades around. So mine actually here, if I show you my wallet, you open it up, I have one of these tucked into my wallet, just like that, to hold some extra blades. But these are actually just a 3D printed sleeve. These are made by Exceed Designs. They have a couple different knives and stuff out. But they just hold two standard razor blades. And it's just a way to safely carry around some extra utility knife blades in your wallet. So it's thinner than a credit card. They are a little fragile, so you have to be careful with them. But if once they're tucked into your wallet and and they're sandwiched in between some cards or between some leather or whatever, these are just a really nice way to keep some extra blades around. Also, if you when you're swapping your blades, often if you're not near a trash can or something where you can safely dispose of them, say you used one of your blades up, you put a new in, you have your old blade, well, you can just throw it back in here until you get to somewhere where you can safely dispose of that blade. I use it for that quite a bit. But yeah, these are the BicBank by Exceed Designs. You can get a 2-pack of them for, oh man, I think they're like $15. They're relatively inexpensive and they come in 2-packs. So really, really cool. Highly recommend if you're going to carry a utility knife around. These are a great little stocking stuffer. And I've never really seen anyone else doing something like this. So very, very neat from Exceed Designs. Let's do some knife maintenance next. We're going to save the knives for last because I know that's what everyone wants to see, and I'm trying to hold your attention. Last year, I had talked about some pivot oil and some lubricants and stuff like that for like knife pivot lube, that kind of thing. This year, this isn't the most flashy thing in the world, but Loctite is a great gift for anyone that's into knives or even, guns and stuff like that. Thread locker is something we use all the time. Red and blue, probably the most popular. Purple, not quite as much, but either of these, like the semi-permanent or non-permanent thread lockers, these blue and red Loctites, I like these better than the bottles where it's in liquid form. These are more like glue stick form, where you can kind of just run screws in them, so you're not worried about dripping Loctite all over your hardware. But these are great. I use them all the time when maintaining my knives because, knives should come from the factory either, tuned in such a way that your screws aren't going to back out, or they should be Loctited from the factory, but sometimes they aren't. So you have to do a little bit of maintenance on your own. And sometimes, you just want to tune things exactly where you want it, and throwing some red Loctite on there will make sure that your action stays the way you want it. So thread locker are a great thing to give to really anyone. It's one of those things that it's kind of a pain to buy more of it for yourself because it's just like a disposable thing. But if someone gave me some extra Loctite, I'd be pretty happy with that because it's something I'm going to use eventually. So red and blue Loctite sticks, especially these like glue stick versions, not like the liquid form. I think these are really great for any kind of tool maintenance. And then the next thing here, this is going to be a little bit more on the expensive end depending on which brand you get, because we'll get into it here, but this is a electric bit driver. So this tube pops out here. Whoops. This tube pops out. You take off the rubber gasket on one end, and then you have your driver. It is USB-C rechargeable, and then you have buttons for forward and reverse. And these take your standard 1/8 inch bits. With this case, you have these magnetic panels that come off of each side, and it comes with a plethora of bits, Torx, hex. You got an extension here. On this side, you have flat, Phillips, square head, a couple other odds and ends, but it comes with a bunch of different these 1/8 inch bits. Pretty much anything you could ever think of in terms of, especially, if someone, is into like electronics and servicing, computers or game systems, this is going to have all of the small little weird bits that will be helpful to take apart electronics. But also if you service your knives a lot, you're taking your knives apart to clean them and that kind of thing. The electric bit driver is really nice for that. And what I specifically like about this one is the spindle. While, you can, do forward and reverse with the buttons here, when you're not doing that, the spindle locks, so you can put manual torque on it. So like if you're running a bit in and then the motor isn't tight enough to torque it down like you like, stop doing it with the motor, and then you can manually torque down how much you want. So this one happens to be by Power Giant. These are kind of odd on Amazon where there's a lot of them that look similar and they often change brand. I can't find the actual one with the Power Giant brand anymore, but there are ones that are basically exactly the same, but with just different branding that you can still get. So I'll try to link to a couple different ones, but any of these electric bit drivers I think are just a nice step up from, something like, one of these sets where, a lot of people have these around to, maintenance their tools and stuff like that. but just having an electric one with all of these options in a nice little package that's here that, you know, if you go, or if you're like, again, like a electronics service person, this is a great little package to throw in like your laptop bag. And then you have your bit driver and all of the bits you could ever want all in one little package. Again, these are going to range anywhere from like 50 to 80 bucks most of the time. You can get some cheaper ones like down towards the $30 range. I would suggest spending a little bit more because they're usually a little bit nicer. I think this one is around like the $50, $60 mark. Like I said, I'll link a couple different of these because I can't find this exact brand anymore. But just this idea of an electric bit driver, I think, is a great idea for someone that is in this world. I use this all the time. So knife maintenance is done. Before we get into, oh, actually, we do have one more knife maintenance thing. This is probably going to be the most expensive thing on the table, all put together. But last year I had talked about, I always like to talk about some, you know, kind of knife sharpener. Last year I talked about the Spyderco Sharp Maker and some extra stones and stuff that you can get for it for different applications. That's still a great option, but I wanted to show off something different. This is, and this is, again, kind of hard to show off here on camera. This is the Worksharp Precision Adjust. And this is basically a budget version of a lot of those fixed angle systems, the more expensive fixed angle systems. So basically what you do is, let me just grab my knife out of here. You have this clamp right here. You put your knife in these jaws, you tighten it down. There you go. So it's holding your knife at a fixed position. And then up here, you have the ability to set what angle you want. So say you want a 20-degree edge bevel on either side, you set it to 20, and now it's holding your stones at that angle. So you don't have to worry about, you know, like when you're freehand sharpening, you have to kind of hold the right angle, or when you're stropping, you have to hold the right angle. This does a lot of that hard work for you. So it's very easy to set the exact angle you want, and then you just work the stones back and forth along the edge. You have a couple, it comes with just a 320 grit, a 600 grit, and then I think 1,000 grit. So you have these diamond stones and then the ceramic stone. I've found I can sharpen pretty much, like I've sharpened up to like K390 on this. And I haven't needed any other stones. They do sell a couple other like stone kits that you can get with both coarser and finer stones and like a strop. But I found that the 300, 600, and 1,000 grit that it comes with are plenty for most of your steels. Like I sharpened this Magna Cut Sabenza on this, no problem. And most of the time for like, you really only are going to need that 320 grit if you're like reprofiling an edge. Most of the time, your 600 and your 1,000 grit are going to work just fine for maintaining your edges. So this is a really nice sharpener for the like the budget round. These are around 50 bucks, I think. I think they're around the $50 range. Again, links to all this in the description. But there are some things that are not great about it. One of the features on here is this arm. You can either press this button in the back, and then, oh, here I have it in the other direction. So there's this button that you can depress on the back that when you're sharpening, you want to switch to the other side, you depress that, and then you can flip to your other side, or you can just take this whole, whoops, I am doing all this under the camera is a mess. Or you can just take it out if you have a larger blade and put it in the other side. But one of the things about this arm is, I'm just going to take this off so I can show you, is when you are sharpening, it has a tendency to flex a little bit, as you can see, because it is plastic, so it is flexing just a little bit. It doesn't look like a lot, but when you're trying to hold a fixed angle, that can be a problem. So you kind of get some wonky edges every once in a while, depending on, you know, what you're sharpening. So there is a company on Etsy that makes some 3D printed add-ons that I think make this a fantastic budget sharpening system. For whatever reason, I am blanking on the name of the company right now, but again, I will link down in the description to these. One of them is just this this little guide that goes right underneath the arm. Oops, sorry, shaking the camera. So it just slips down underneath here, and then when you put this in here, that is now stabilized from the bottom. So when you're pushing down and sharpening, this can no longer flex because it's being held up by this little 3D printed piece here, which is really, really nice. And then when you want to flip it, all you have to do is there's a little hole, you can grab it and slide it out. You can flip it over, and then same thing, just pop it under there. Whoops, just pop it under there and slide it back in. And that's giving you a lot more stability, so that arm doesn't flex as much. I'm gonna take my knife out of here so that I don't accidentally cut myself on this next part. The other thing that they sell is this right here, and this is a table clamp. So what this does is, you can see you have all your instructions on here, but again, this is all 3D printed. You have this part right here. I'm actually just gonna pull the camera back so you can see a little bit. I'm gonna slide back. So this just slips under your table. You tighten it up here underneath. So that's now locked to the table. You then slide the Worksharp into here and then tighten these little knobs down. And now this can't slide around or anything. It is locked to the table. One of the problems that this has, while it does have a rubberized bottom, is that you kind of had to hold on to it while you were sharpening. So like if you had a knife in here, you got your stone in and you're sharpening, you kind of had to hold on to it so that it didn't move while you were doing this kind of back and forth motion. This frees you up to be able to just have it fixed to the table so it doesn't move at all. You just get a lot more consistency. So this table clamp paired with this right underneath here, this makes this a much more stable and capable sharpening setup. And I think I did the math all put together. If you buy the Precision Adjust from Worksharp, the table mount, and the stabilizer, it comes out to like right around $100. So you can get this whole kit and all the upgrades all for $100, and you can sharpen pretty much any knife that you're gonna. If you're working with stuff like maybe like 115V or Rex 45 or something like that, you might have to get specialized diamond stones. But like I said, I sharpened up to, here is, let me just grab this out. I've sharpened Crewware on here. I sharpened K390, M390, Magna Cut, S30V, Van X Super Clean, 20 CV. This edge is from this knife. Let me just grab a piece of paper here to show you how sharp it is. That edge came off of here, and this is K390 from Spyderco. So a very, very capable budget sharpening system. You don't have to spend, hundreds of dollars to be able to sharpen your knives. The Spyderco Sharp Maker is a little bit more portable still. It's a little bit easier to use, I'd say. But this is going to give you much better, like you're actually going to be able to reprofile your edges instead of just adding a micro bevel like the Spyderco Sharp Maker. So I've really been liking this system. I think these 3D printed upgrades are super worth it. So even if you know that the person that you're buying for has this already, cool. But if not, you can buy this as a whole system and use it all together. If someone bought me this and all the upgrades all together, I would be absolutely stoked. So that is another option for you. Let me just put all this stuff away. All right, the last thing before we get to knives, I'm looking around at my table, making sure I'm not missing anything, is some watches. So you're seeing the watch that I'm wearing here. Disclaimer, I am not a watch guy. These are literally the only two watches I own, but I've had them for years now, and I think they're awesome for the price. And, I watch a couple of watch channels. Like, I'm not even into watches. I don't own any expensive watches, but I watch a couple watch channels just to see what's out there. And even the guys that own, Rolexes and stuff still recommend these as really awesome budget watches. These are Timex Expeditions. You can get them in a couple different colors like you see. Like you can get the gray or the black with either the black or white face. They have the date in here. They both glow. If you press, it's really hard to see on camera. Let's see if I can get this to show. But when you press in here, the face glows in the dark. There's lume on both of the hands. You can get these in a bunch of different straps. This one happens to be like a green nylon strap. You can get that in this leather strap here. But if you're looking for, just a nice budget watch, these are around the $50 mark on Amazon. I've had this one for, I want to say 7 or 8 years now. As you can see, it needs a new battery. And I think this one I've had for about 3 years. I am not I am pretty hard on watches. I've had some cheaper watches than this that I break. And these have held up very, very well. So again, I don't know a lot of the specs and things like that. All I know is that they work very well. They're very legible. They're very durable. They're easy to see in the dark, which I like. They have the date, which I really appreciate. And they seem to keep time well. I don't find them losing a whole lot of minutes or anything like that. Maybe like every once in a while you have to adjust it. But for the most part, these keep time very, very well. So Timex Expedition, you can get a couple different versions on Amazon around the $50 mark. They're great watches. All right. Let's get into probably what you came here for. So I'm just going to set a couple of these out here and we can talk about them. So if you're looking to get someone a knife, knife people are hard to buy for, right? We all have our preferences. There's a lot of, like inside the knife community, there's a lot of sub communities that are into different types of knives, whether it's fixed blades or traditional knives or modern folders or, bushcraft knives, tactical knives, all that kind of stuff. I think all of these here would be appreciated by anyone in any of those categories. Even if it's not like their normal thing, these are all very much well worth the money. They're all well made, and I think everyone can appreciate them. So we're going to go one at a time here. The first one that I want to talk about here is this. This is the Civivi Yonder. This is an imported knife made in China. Civivi, if you're not familiar with them, again, if you're someone that's not a knife person, you're thinking, ooh, Chinese knife. A lot of Chinese knives, while they have a bad reputation, a lot of the best knives in the community right now that are coming out are made in China. No matter how you feel about that, I kind of wish a lot more industry would come back to the U.S. But for better or for worse, a lot of the best knives, especially the best budget knives, are coming out of China right now. They're very, very well made. This one happens to be designed by a guy who's very well known in the community. This is his first knife design. It's called the Yonder. It has a crossbar lock, so it is completely ambidextrous. The lock can be used by right-handed or left-handed. There's thumb studs on both sides, so right-handed or left-handed people can use it. The clip is also reversible, so you can carry it on your right or left hand. And the materials you're getting for the budget are pretty solid. You have skeletonized liners, G10 handles, and then you have 14C28 and blade steel. Nice and thin blade stock with a high flat grind. This is very, very slicey. I just had to put a new edge on this, and it cuts very, very well. Again, 14C28 end steel, if you're not familiar, is very stainless and very tough, and when heat treated properly holds a decent enough edge. It's not going to be the highest edge retention in the world, but it's a great budget steel. And if you're worried about, if you live in a very humid climate and you're worried about things rusting, 14C28 end is a great option. A couple other things that you knife guys will appreciate. The clip is inset into the scales, and the screws are flush, so there's nothing going to be catching on your pocket. There is a tab on the other side that fills the empty pocket clip hole, which is really nice. The lockup is super solid. This is one of the, if not the most solid crossbar lock I've ever felt. There's no blade play, there's no lock rock or anything like that. The access lock is smooth, it's not gritty. This is running on bearings, I believe, if I remember correctly. So it is very, very drop shutty smooth. This is just a great option. Also, it is under the 3-inch blade mark, so if you're somewhere where you have to worry about blade length flaws, it is just over the 2.5 inch. So if you have a 2-inch or a 2.5 inch flaw, this won't work for you, but most places, if they're going to have a restriction, is for 3-inch blades, and this will pass with flying colors. Overall length is just over 6.5 inches. You have just over 2.5 inch cutting length. This is a great knife for pretty much anyone. The handle is neutral. It's going to fit anywhere from big to smaller hand sizes. It's fairly neutral. It doesn't force you into any weird finger grooves. This is just a great knife that I think I could feel comfortable recommending to pretty much anyone, even if they're not knife people. And this is coming in around the $60 mark, which for what you're getting here is super great value for $60. So the Civivi Yonder, you can get these on Amazon. Great stocking stuffer for someone that has higher end knives, or if they're into budget knives or just not a button knife person yet, this is a great way to get them into a lot of more high-end features for a budget price. If you're looking for knives that are made in the US, but you're still in that budget kind of category, there's not a whole lot. There's not a whole lot of budget USA-made knives anymore. And some of the ones that do exist aren't very good. These are, without a doubt, in my mind, the best budget USA-made knives on the market. These are made by Buck, and you are looking at these and going, my grandpa might have had a knife that looks similar to this, but, it looked a little bit different. These are the modernized version of the Buck 110 and the Buck 112 Ranger. Normally, you'd see them with, like, brass bolsters and wood scales. These are just the modernized version of that. So what you have here is a lot of, like, old-fashioned knife features with some updated features as well. So you're still getting 440C blade, which is the same as the regular Buck 110s and 112s. But instead of a nail nick where you have to open the blade with two hands, they added dual thumb studs. So similarly to the Civivi, you can open this with either hand. Lefties or righties are going to be able to do that. You have added a pocket clip. The original one did not have a pocket clip. It is also reversible. It is a deep carry pocket clip. It's not inset with flush screws or anything, but there's enough room up there that I've never had a problem with it snagging my pocket, but it is reversible. And also this has a back lock, which is mid-mounted, which means that you can access it with either hand. It's not going to be a one-hand close. You are going to have to close it with two hands. But this is a completely ambidextrous knife. This is also much more lightweight than the originals as well. Whereas the originals were brass and wood, these are injection molded plastic. And now you might be hearing injection molded and saying, oh, that might be, that might kind of feel brittle. These feel very, very solid. They don't feel like they're going to break. I have used this one especially quite a bit with no problem. And they're just great. They come with great edges. Buck does a really good job with their heat treat, so you're not getting some pot metal heat treat. You're getting a decent budget steel. 440C is actually a really, really great budget steel. So this is a bit larger. This is the Buck 110. You're looking at about 3 1/4 inches of cutting length, about 3 3/4 back to the handle. Overall length about 8 1/2 inches. Your handle length is about 4 3/4. So this is a full size, larger knife. I wear medium sized gloves and I can choke up or back on this handle and have plenty of room. Great knife. These are pin construction, which means you can't take them apart. There's no torques or anything, but I've never found the need to take them apart. They lock up super solid. This one has no blade play or rock lock at all. And if you're looking for the smaller one, this is the exact same knife, but just scaled down to about 2 1/2 inches cutting length, about 3 inches back to the handle. Handle length of about, your grip area is going to be around 4 inches. Overall length about 7 1/4. So again, depending on where you live, if you need under 3 inches, the 112 is probably what you want to go for. If you have no blade length restrictions, you could always go with the 110. And these are made in the USA, and they're coming in at $30 and $40 respectively. You can get these on Amazon. Right now on Amazon, all that's available is the black. They occasionally do some other handle colors, but right now the black is all that's available. But these are really great knives. And I think, everyone can appreciate a Buck. Everyone knows the Buck 110 and 112 in the knife community. And these are a great way to enjoy that classic design, but with a lot of modern features that a lot of knife collectors enjoy. So these are also great. Again, if your knife person is someone like me and really likes expensive knives like this is a Chris Reese Sebenza. These are like $600. Something like this would be great for them if they want to, really be able to thrash on it and not care, or throw it in their car as a backup, or, throw it in their toolbox, something like that. These are great for that. All right. Next thing, before we get to the fixed blade, this is a multi-tool. For you knife people and multi-tool people, you might be looking at this and say, this looks very similar to the Leatherman Wave. This is basically a Leatherman Wave clone. It's made by Workpro, and it has a lot, for the price, this has a lot of great features. If you're not trying to, buy American, you don't care where it's made, I'd say this is 10 out of 10 times a better purchase than the Wave. The Wave is, I think they're a little bit over $100 right now. They're like 125 or something like that. These, I can't remember what they're running right now. I bought this, it was like $15. They usually go anywhere from like $15 to $25. And this is an excellent full-size multi-tool. In addition to the Wave, it also has the spring-loaded jaws. It's got all of the normal tools that you come to love on the Wave. The one-handed opening serrated, the one-handed opening straight blade. They both lock with liner locks. You have a wood saw. You have a diamond file and crosscut file. All of those external tools lock with a liner lock, which is great. And then on the inside, you also have a bunch of tools. You have a can opener, a flathead. You have a decent pair of scissors. Oh, and then on this side, you have 2 different size Phillips drivers and this kind of multi-tool here, strap cutter, a little slightly smaller flathead. But this is just an awesome multi-tool for the price. It also comes with a pocket clip. It is fairly heavy. If you're familiar with the Leatherman Wave, I think it's like an ounce heavier than the Leatherman Wave, but it does come with a pocket clip. It also comes with a nylon pouch, which I don't know where it is right now, but it comes with a nylon belt pouch. You could also carry it that way. But if you're looking for to give someone a multi-tool, but you don't have Leatherman money to spend, this is an awesome option. Again, this is also, if someone that has Leathermans and they carry a Leatherman every day, this is a great way to give them one that's a backup, but for, very cheap. They can throw this in their toolbox and, okay, $15, whatever. But it has pretty much all the capability of the Leatherman Wave, but in a much more budget form. And in a lot of ways, I like this better than the Leatherman Wave. It opens up the other direction so that you don't pinch yourself here when opening and closing. It has the spring-loaded pliers. It has a pocket clip pre-installed. It's really great. The only downside to this over the Leatherman Wave Plus is you don't have the replaceable wire cutters and you don't have the replaceable bit driver. But other than that, for the price, I cannot complain. This is an awesome multi-tool. I do have a full review on this one as well if you're interested in that. All right, coming down the home stretch, last but not least, if you're looking for a fixed blade, this is by far the best. I have a review on this one as well, and I think I've titled it the best fixed blade you can buy under $100. This is the Demko Armiger 4. These are made in Taiwan. Demko is an American company, and they do have some American products as well. In fact, you can get a more expensive version of this that is made in the U.S. I think it's like $175. But this is usually between $65 and $70. Made in Taiwan. An excellent design. You have ADC RV2 steel. You can get them in 3 different blade shapes. You can get it in this clip point, a tanto, or a dagger, serrated or non-serrated. You have this rubberized handle, very old school dagger feeling, but very comfortable for outdoors use as well. This could be more of a defensive blade if you wanted it to be, but as you can see, I've absolutely beaten the piss out of mine, and it's held up extremely well. ADCRV2 is a very tough steel. You have nice, decently thick stock. The sheath is well thought out. The retention is great. You can actually take the sheath apart and clean it. It comes with a nylon strap for you to carry on your belt. I took that off, and you can mount pretty much anything you want on this sheath. If they're a fixed blade person, they probably have a bunch of mounting hardware laying around that they can use. I happen to have a discrete Carry Concepts clip on it, but tech locks, ulti clips, soft loops, all that stuff is going to fit on here. And just a really awesome for $65 to $70, it is extremely rare that not only do you get a well thought out quality made fixed blade, but also a well thought out quality sheath. Oftentimes budget fixed blades, they can be nice, the actual knife will be cool, and then it just has a horrendous, poorly thought out sheath. This sheath is very well thought out. It works very well. It's it's slim enough that you can carry it inside the waistband if you want. This personally, I keep this in my vehicle as a backup if I forget my knife, or if if I have something nicer with me and I really need to beat up on something, I have this available to me. it's just an awesome fixed blade. I really, really enjoy this. And again, 65, 70 bucks, you can't go wrong. I genuinely think this is probably, if you're going to buy a fixed blade under $100, this is the way to go. So, guys, that was it. I know this was a longer video, but I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this gave you some great ideas for the people in your life that you're buying EDC stuff for. If you're interested in any of the things that I talked about, like I said, I will leave links down in the description to everything. Let me know what you're planning on buying for Christmas. If you're going to buy any of this stuff for yourself or anything like that, please let me know. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down in the comment section. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Merry Christmas.